It's not possible. I didn't say it would be easy, Neo.
All right, good morning. Mr. Thompson, you introduce yourself, tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Keith Thompson. My DOC is 109223.
All right, Mr. Thompson, let me introduce the five-member parole panel to you this morning. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Seated to my far left is Mr. Chucky Tillis. To my immediate left, Ms. Carolyn Stapleton. To my immediate right, Mr. Pete Freeman, and to his right is Mr. Danny Byra. So we are a five-member panel this morning. And let me acknowledge some of the folks that are here today in support. We have Mr. Andrew Hundley with the Parole Project, your niece, Tamara Whitlock, who has joined us and wants to speak on your behalf. Also, you are represented by counsel this morning. Counsel, would you introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning. My name is Sarah O'Brien. I'm an attorney for Keith Thompson.
Thank you. Also, we have some students from the Southern University Law School and LSU Law School who are observing hearing today. First, I'll read some identifying information into the record, after which I'll ask you to confirm that information. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tillis. Your case has been assigned to him. He's going to take the lead on the parole interview. Then we'll hear from your supporters and the warden. And before we ask your lawyer to close it out for us, we'll ask you if there's a statement you'd like to make. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Thompson, you are classified as a third felony offender. You're currently serving a sentence that is 199 years. You were sentenced initially in August of 1987 for armed robbery, and were also habitually billed on armed robbery. In May of 2019, you were sentenced to 1 year for battery of a correctional officer. Your parole eligibility date was determined to be October 16, 2006. Your good time date is December in 2089. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am. All except the fact that I originally was sentenced on May the 4th of 1985. I had got resentenced in 87.
Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for clarifying. I appreciate it. Would you answer Mr. Tillis' questions, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Mr. Thomas, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you.
I read through your case. I read through it several times, and I noticed you took a lot of classes. Do you remember how many you took?
5.
Since you've been at DCI?
No, I took 2 at DCI. 3 at Angola.
How long have you been incarcerated?
November 13th of this year will be 40 years.
Okay. And you're originally from Jackson, Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
You know, I read where you got a job in New Orleans.
Right.
And how long did you work there?
About a month and a half. So.
I see. What about, I saw where you had a problem with your landlord. What happened with you?
It wasn't a problem with the landlord. It was the fact that I had lost my job and I was worried about having somewhere to live, and I just became reactionary, and that's what led to me committing this crime that I'm incarcerated.
I see. How far did you go in school?
I quit in the 10th grade, and I went to reform school. I passed to the 11th grade reform school. I got out. I quit again in 11th grade. I got locked up. While I was in jail, I got my GED, and then they sent me to prison when I was 16. And when I was there, I got some college credits and some VOTEC credits.
Good. I see that you probably have kind of been a problem since you've been there. I mean, you've been in a few fights, disobedient.
That's an understatement, man. I had a lot of problems, serious problems, mentally, emotionally, psychologically,
I see. And I was thinking about it as I read your case. It seems like what you really need to do is probably adjust and follow the orders and supervision that you have. Uh, you've had anger management.
Yes, sir. Took me a while to understand it. Took the incident when I got the barrier on the officer charge for me to understand, or what clues and triggers really meant. I finally figured out, I realized how close I came to, really throwing away everything I've been trying to accomplish.
I see. I see. Okay, I have no more questions.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning, man.
I've got a few questions. So the battery on the officer there, you threw a wheelchair at the officer, is that correct? Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Was
And it really wasn't really about him. I've been knowing Mr. Bernard since he was a cadet. I watched him come up in the ranks all the way to when I left Angola, he was Lieutenant Colonel. And he was really just trying to do his job. It was another officer that was like harassing me and, trying to get me sent back to the blocks at the time when I was just kind of getting it together. And, I just let my frustration out of that, when Mr. Bernard, when he sprayed mace, to try to, force the rules, basically, I just kind of flashed, and did what I was did so many times in the past, and I took responsibility for it and I apologized, Mr. Bernard. We shook hands on it, and I said I never had a problem with him, but that was about.
Well, let me take you all the way back to 1984, where there was an armed robbery.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and it was a benevolent society, Norsemen's Association. Yes.
Okay.
So you had some victims there and you made them lay on the floor and you had a gun. It was an armed robbery. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to get you from that point to what happened.
Well, I didn't know what kind of building it was when I went in the building. My own intention was, my selfish motive to get some money, so that I could pay my rent, and just do what I was doing. But I just went in the building. I asked the lady for permission to use the restroom. I really just wanted to look around and see who was in the building, that type of stuff, and I feel like, females, they less likely to put up any type of resistance,
Right.
to you. So when the lady let me want to use the bathroom, when I came out, that's when I saw it was a lot of females. I decided I was going to try to commit a robbery, and I didn't know that one of the ladies in there had a pistol inside the place. What I had was a starter pistol. It wasn't even a real pistol. And there was a fifth lady was in there that it was, matter of fact, it was Miss Delarette's daughter. I found out, through trial testimony, she had went out the window and she called the police, and as I was trying to take the ladies upstairs, before I leave, so they wouldn't see which way I went, the police came on the scene. Police came on the scene, he pointed a gun at me, he told me to freeze, and I had one of the ladies in front of me, she broke and ran, and I don't know, according to the officer, I fired at him, but, for mine, what I seen is there was a reaction when he shot, I got shot in the hand, and it was a reflex reaction. The pistol that I used, it was a lady pistol. I wasn't even conscious of it. I had that one I got the one that she had because she had it on the floor in the office when I kicked the door down and went in the office. She had locked herself in the office. And I had got her pistol, and it kind of shook me up a little bit because, she had a real pistol. So I had that pistol in my hand. That was the pistol that I had in my hand when the police fired and the gun went off, you know. But that was, yes, ma'am.
See, from a victim's point of view, that was a very violent offense in their life. I mean, you kicked the door down. I guess you made them like, you held a gun on them as far as they knew it was real and that they were going to get shot, and shots were fired.
Yes, ma'am.
So on behalf of the ladies, you can see if I had been one of them or somebody you love, you can understand how that would maybe carry over their whole entire life, that it would be a fearful incident in their life. I just to hear from the victim's point of view what that may do with them, that may be an isolated incident to you and be over with once you're arrested, but for a victim, it continues on. So I don't have any further questions.
If I may, when I was taking the victim impact class, you know, I learned a lot. And, you know, at the end of the class, you know, we wrote letters of apologies, you know, and I may not never get another chance, you know, and I like it if I may read the letter that I wrote to these ladies, you know, trying to express, you know, just, you know, how I understand, what my actions are.
Please, did you know that 2 of them have passed away?
Ma'am, no, I didn't. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but then that, I think that leaves a remaining of at least 2 victims.
Yeah, but if I may, I'd like to read the letter.
Well, you do that when you close out. When you close it, we're going to go continue with our interview. Mr. Barr, I have some questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The record shows that you were on supervision for armed robbery, 2 counts from Jackson, Mississippi, when you committed this armed robbery. Can you please tell me the details of that case? What had you done in Jackson?
No, I wasn't on any type of supervision when I got out. I just got re-sentenced and released. I wasn't on parole. I wasn't on parole supervision, nothing. I got 6 years and 1 month re-sentenced, and I was out. And I couldn't, I tried to find a job. I couldn't find a job in Mississippi, so I came to Louisiana. My mother had, my uncle, he was like a skipper on an oyster boat. And I was going to go work with him for a while. First thing I did, I completed my Pell Grant to try to keep going to school. And I was going to go work with my uncle until it was time to start the next semester, and then, you know, and try to get me my own little place and stuff like that. And that's why I ended up coming to Louisiana. But I wasn't on any type of supervision whatsoever.
So you're telling me in 1980, you wasn't arrested for 2 counts of armed robbery where you got 25 years DOC with 15 years suspended?
Oh, sure. No,
Not
sir.
you.
I got arrested in 1977, 78 rather, on 2 counts of armed robbery. I was 16 years old, and I got tried as an adult, you know, and I got sent to prison like 2 months before my 18th birthday, and I stayed in Parsons prison for 6 years and 1 month. I went back and I got re-sentenced. They took back my original guilty plea. I got re-sentenced to 6 years and 1 month, and I got released. Time served.
All right, so that's where I don't have the end of the sentence. I just have the beginning of it. But my question was, in that armed robbery, how did you do that? What was that? It was the same thing about money?
Same crime, and that's why I know it's a God. It was the exact same crime, exact same kind of building. I knew what the first building was. I knew that was an insurance company because they had a sign showing you what the building was. But this one here, it didn't have any type of identification sign what the building was. But it was the exact same thing. It was an insurance company.
All right. One more question.
Yes, sir.
When they arrested you for this offense in Louisiana, for the armed robbery in Louisiana, the New Orleans Police Department also executed a warrant for Jackson, Mississippi, for rape and illegal flight to avoid prosecution. Can you tell me about those charges?
I have no idea to this day. Ever since I've been locked up, I've been trying to get them to bring me to Jackson, Mississippi. You know, tell me what the charge was about. I wasn't even in Jackson when charges were made against me, I was in Louisiana. Uh, and I filed a lawsuit in federal court. I got a copy of it right here trying to make them bring me to Jackson, Mississippi, to tell me what the charge about. And I was for years, the people at Angola, they contacted, when I first got there, they contacted Jackson, Mississippi and asked them, did they have a detainer on me? And they told them that I wasn't wanted for nothing in Jackson, Mississippi. But those charges are also on my FBI rap sheet.
Yeah.
And to this
So
day,
that's going to be something you're going to need to figure out before you can actually get out, because it's going to be a hold on you if they still want you.
to this day, I never had a detainer placed on me by Jackson, Mississippi. I've been contacted.
Don't know what they talking about when they say they had a warrant for you for a rape charge and flight to avoid prosecution. You don't know nothing about those?
No idea whatsoever about it.
All right, that's the only questions I have.
Okay, I have a couple. Mr. Thompson, so you said you've been in jail about, what, 40 years? Almost 40.
November 13 will be 40 years.
How much of that 40 years would you say you spent in a cell block?
Vast majority of it.
Yeah, and you've been at DCI since April of, when, 2020?
May the 3rd, 2022.
So 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So I asked those questions because your conduct record really is concerning for me. As Mr. Tillis alluded to, you had a really hard time, really until you got to DCI. I show where you lost 2,280 days of good time. When did you learn you were parole eligible?
When 2045 first took effect in the 90s.
Okay, so all that time where you were doing all this cutting up, you knew you would have the opportunity for parole, but that didn't matter to you?
It mattered very much to me, but I had to try to, relearn, how, to live, basically. I mean, I always, was like, by me being in prison early in life, and, you get in prison, and you get around a lot of malcontent people, and they give you a lot of, bad advice,
Understand. I get that. We generally are not surprised when we see early in someone who has a long prison term, early on, they have a real period of institutional adjustment. It's hard. Many get a lot of write-ups, but I looked back even over just the last 10 years.
Mhm.
And so by this time you've been locked up 30 years. In the last 10 years, by my count, you got 128 write-ups.
Mhm.
And of those 128 write-ups, 60 were number 21s, which is concerning. You also have 45, which were either defiance and or aggravated disobedience, and 10 were for contraband. Since you've been at DCI, as we've said, about 2 years, I think you've only gotten 4. Is that right?
I haven't had a write-up since I've been in DCI.
And write-ups at DCI. So that's really encouraging to me. You needed to change of scenery, didn't you?
Well, really, my last write-up actually was April the 25th of 2021 before I came to DCI. Yes, the change of scenery was good for me, and it was like being able to hit reset for me, because came here, people at DCI, they showed me off top that they let you define who you are, yes, ma'am.
So who are you? What is your job there at DCI?
I work in the chemical room, in the property room, or in the cell block.
What do you do?
I mix chemicals, and I pass out supplies, monthly supplies, to various locations on Compound 5.
So why do you think your conduct has improved so much? Tell us why you think that happened.
For years I struggled, I always knew that I had to get myself together, but change is hard. It's hard for to admit that, you've been living a lie all your life, and so, I've been struggling trying to change, I fall, I fell, I got up, but, and it's just basically, that I knew I had to change.
They freeze. Screen froze. Oh, there you go. You froze up just for a minute. Let me just, before we move on and hear from your supporters, let me just let you know that there is, of course, some opposition to any consideration for early release. The West Feliciana District Attorney's Office, law enforcement in West Feliciana. There was no comment from the folks in New Orleans, either the prosecutors or law enforcement, except that the police chief in New Orleans is opposed because of the violent nature of your offenses. We're going to hear from your supporters. First, we'd like to hear from Mr. Hunley.
Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project, appearing today to let the board know that Keith Thompson reached out to us a while back and asked us for support. Obviously, we did the same records you've looked at and saw a significant, criminal history and significant disciplinary issues while incarcerated. However, we noticed that the last couple of years, especially since his transfer to Dixon, that he had what he called a reset. And after several meetings with him, I can tell you that we're of the opinion that he's an extremely honest and forthcoming person, significantly, in a way a lot of people don't, took responsibility in a way that, in our opinion, showed that he's made a turn and he's very cognizant of what's caused him so much trouble and what's brought him to the point where he's, because of the amount of time that he's served, 40 years, and his age today, we want to offer our support to him because we do think that he has made a turning point. In our line of work, there is a sweet spot. 5 years from now, he may not be able to work. He may not is that he has today. So if he is granted parole, our organization commits providing him long-term support, which includes housing, which includes employment assistance, which includes mental health and substance abuse assistance and peer mentoring. As this honorable board's aware, we've worked with quite a few long-termers like Mr. Thompson and helped them with their transition. But also want to add that in conversations with Mr. Thompson, he actually volunteered and requested if he could be sent to Steve Hoyle to do at least 9 months of programming at Steve Hoyle before his potential release. I know that wasn't, but what we were here to say is we understand if he would be granted to Steve Hoyle, he may be there for such a long period of time that it would require him going back before the board for an additional hearing if he successfully completed that program. We think that would be more time and a show that he has he can roll with the changes. He transitioned successfully on the right path, and our organization would still be willing to provide him transitional support. I stand by for any questions you may have about his reentry plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Warden, I'm sorry. Is there anything you can add?
Yeah, no, man. Good morning, Mr. Knotts. I'm gonna tell you, you have covered it, and actually, Mr. Hunley covered it well, and see the same things I do. Since it's been at DCI, he's really done well and had no write-ups and stuff. But he has a significant history, and I'm not sure what clicked in 22 or 21, but y'all pretty much hit everything on the head so far.
Thank you. So, Ms. Whitlock, would you like to, tell us what you'd like us to know?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't know where to start, but let me say this. I feel like my uncle has made a huge change. Well, back in 1991, my father was killed by a young man named Patrick, and he was sentenced to go to life in Angola. My uncle was housed with the same guy that killed his brother. And for him to live by this guy and forgive him, it said a lot about his character. Now, I know my uncle has had a lot of write-ups, but I feel like it was because he was a product of his environment. And we talk on a regular basis. We talk every week, sometimes 3 times a week, maybe 4. And I have seen a dramatic change in him myself. Now, I can say that, now, if this had been maybe 20 years ago, I'd probably been like, I don't know if he should make parole. But as of now, I feel like he does deserve a chance. And to add to that, the guy that killed my father, Patrick, my uncle also wrote a letter saying that he would do anything he could do to help the guy that killed my father make parole. And like I said again, that speaks a lot about his character.
Ma'am, thank you so much. We appreciate you speaking with us this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Thompson, before we turn it over to your attorney, is there anything you'd like to say to us?
I like, I always like to tell people that I live my life basically 5 stages. I was, you know, young and confused. I went from young and confused to, just young and confused. I went, just immature, to an immature stage and easily impressed and impressionable, I went from being impressionable to a young adult and angry and resentful. I went from being young and resentful to old and bitter and foolish, and finally, like a few years ago, I kind of had like my eureka moment, and it just all clicked. Everything finally clicked for me. I finally understood, what it was all about. What I've been trying to do for all my life, trying to figure out what life is about. And it just clicked. And I think, but the most important thing probably was that I realized one time when I was like, I was saying one day I thought, I said, like ever since I was about 11 years old, I've been using some type of drug, some glue, some paint, some pills, some beer, something, and I don't even know what it feels like to be drug free. So I said, I tried everything else. I'm gonna try this, and I tried it, and that was it. I mean, I finally realized, that I don't need all those was crutches, that was just crutches, and reason for you not to do what you need to do. You can't think clear. That's the bottom line. You can't think clear. And I was on drugs the day I committed this crime. I mean, So, but basically, that's when everything really clicked with me when I did that about 3 years ago, and I haven't looked back since.
Oh, that's good to hear. Good to hear. So, Brian?
Yes, good morning. Sarah O'Brien. I'm the attorney for Mr. Thompson, and I've been representing Mr. Thompson for over 2 years, almost 3 years now. As he mentioned, and I believe y'all have a copy of the letter that he wrote. I have talked to him a lot about that, and I think what really stuck out for me about Mr. Thompson is his like a really deep understanding, I think, of what his remorse really means. He did he took a compassion class that was sort of related to a victim awareness. And there was a crime victim who actually instructed that class, and talking with her and seeing her taking her time to try and speak to, prisoners, some of whom had committed violent acts, and explain to them how that affected her. That really, really affected him. She recommended a book to him that he read that I think really changed his life. And so I really he credits that class and that woman with really helping him see the damage that he had caused. And that was what we spoke about when I first met him, and is why I'm, here with him today, so many years later. He is also very dedicated to his reentry structure. Obviously, it was him who said, I think, if I am going to get out of here after 40 years, I want to make sure we do it right. Is there a, drug programming in prison sort of as a step down that I can do to prove that I'm ready for this? And can I reach out to the Louisiana Parole Project and see if they can provide further assistance? So that was, he wants that treatment, and that was him asking for that, which really impressed me as well. And then finally, I think, Mr. Thompson was a very accomplished athlete as a child. And I think, he continues to be able to work. And I think that he is excited about the possibility of being able to get out a year from now and actually still contribute to a society that he never really contributed to positively before now. He does also help other inmates in the prison, sort of explaining to them how he thinks that fitness can help with mental health, especially in prison, which I think is definitely true and also impressed me. And that's about it. Thank you for your consideration.
Well, thank you very much. All right, I think, is panel prepared to vote? Mr. Tillis?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Tillis will be voting first.
Mr. Thompson, I'm really pleased that since I've listened to you, that you seem to be on the right track. It seemed like early on you had a lot of anger, and it seems like you're at a point where you're changing, and that's good, and I hope you continue it. But at this time, I'm going to have to deny.
Stapleton?
Mr. Thompson, I agree with my colleague. I think we're all impressed with the fact that now, you, like you said, you feel like you've hit reset, and I think your conduct has shown that. So I like the idea that you would like to attend Steve Foyle because you feel like it will help you transition once you move out. I also like the fact that you have the compassion class. And when I brought up victims, you've already written victim accountability letters. So that's something that they can check into and hear your words to them. I agree, you need more time, but you need more time on the path you've already taken. So my vote today is to deny, but wish you good luck to continue on this path.
Right.
I concur.
Mr. Byron?
Today, I vote to deny based on criminal history, multiple armed robberies in Louisiana and Mississippi, and victim and strong law enforcement opposition. However, I too am impressed with your changes that you got going on since 2021. And I think if you keep on your current path and reapply again, it'll be worth you doing it.
Yes, sir. Right.
All right, Mr. Thompson, I'm going to be the outlaw. I agree with what Mr. Hundley said, where there's a little, right now, if you were given the opportunity, you still have time maybe to make a living wage. You reached out to the Parole Project. You expressed the interest in the long-term substance abuse program, which I think you need. And your record has shown that, you have the desire to do well. So my vote today would be to grant, after completing long-term Steve Foyle substance abuse program, and into a long-term transition plan with the Parole Project. So that would be my vote. Now, you know, obviously you require a unanimous vote, so I want to give you a little bit of encouragement, as my colleagues have, to continue on the path you're on. Seek any substance abuse training if they have any available to you there at DCI, and reapply when you're eligible to do so. Let us see that you can remain right up free going forward. Good luck to you, sir. I enjoyed talking to you today. Thanks for being so honest with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for consideration.
Yes, sir. Warden, that concludes our business at DCI. Thanks for accommodating us today. We're going to sign out at 10:04.
Yes, ma'am. Have a blessed day.